Hello and welcome to Wisdom Bites. Hope you're well. Thank you once again for joining us. Very much appreciated. And in today's video, I'm going to be looking at different markets, including the Dow Jones, as well as the total market cap for the crypto market, as well as, of course, Bitcoin. I'll do the usual long-term analysis by looking on the larger time frames like the weekly chart, as well as doing the short-term analysis to see exactly what may happen in the next few days or in the next few weeks. And in the Wisdom Bites section, I've got an absolute treat for you. It's one of the best stories you'll ever hear, and it will absolutely transform your life, and you will be looking at the people around you in a completely different way. And the question I'm going to ask you today in the Wisdom Bites section is, are you an eagle or are you a chicken? So don't miss this section today. It will absolutely transform your life. And certainly you'll be looking at eagles and chickens in a completely different way. So if that sounds interesting, then without further ado, it's Sunday. It's our Sunday treat. And that means a bar of Snickers, a cup of tea, eyes on the screen. Let's get cracking. And before I begin, the usual polite reminder, please remember everything in this video and all my videos are for educational purposes only. Nothing in this video should be taken as financial advice. Please do your wider research before making any investment decisions. So with that out of the way, let's start off with the Dow Jones Industrial Average Index, because there's something incredibly interesting brewing here. I want to take you back to this point here. And that's back in August 1929, when we had the Wall Street crash. We crashed from around this level here down to this level. So the market crashed by around 90% back in 1929. And as we know, that was the Great Depression. Since then, as we can see, the market has been rising steadily, and we had a bounce off this point here. And from this point, we took an upward trajectory to this point where we had another minor crash here. I say a minor crash. If you take the actual fall, it was a 40% fall here back in 2000. So this was the dot-com bubble crash that we had down there. And some people may have realized that in this channel that we've had over the last 100 years or so, from 1929, we are now coming to another top here. And we need to have a close look here because it's only a matter of time before we have a fall. So the Dow Jones Index is setting itself for a fall, just like we had in 2000 and the one in 1929. Most people think that we are imminently going to be falling, and that could be possibly correct. However, if we examine the fall that we had here, we can see that it could be several months before we actually come tumbling down. So let's have a look at this point in 2000 and see how long it took for the price to start coming down. As we can see, this is the monthly chart. So when we actually hit this point at the top, that was back in January 2000. So this is the reason why it was known as the dot-com bubble, because all these dot-com companies were starting to set up everywhere. But as we can see, it was several months before we had this fall. So we had about a 40% fall down to this level at the dot-com bubble in 2000. Of course, the market could have come to this point and then fallen straight away, and it can happen and does happen, like a blow off top, of course. But in this instance, it took quite a while for it to grind its way down. So that was this point here. But if we now have a look at this current situation here, we can see quite clearly that we've actually gone above this line here. It may well be that we come back and retest it in the next few months, back to this line, and then maybe fall. But certainly it's looking very overheated, as we can see over here. So it's virtually 6 months before we went above this trend line that we've been having since back in the 1920s. So this is a very strong an important and relevant line. And it may well be that we are going to be taking our time before we have a fall here. So, and that would play into the narrative of Bitcoin, that Bitcoin in the next 3 to 6 months is going to be topping out. And certainly the Dow Jones index can fall at any time. So the possibility is that we could have a fall in October or November or December. But what I'm saying is that certainly within the next 3 to 6 months, there is a very high likely probability that we're going to have a fall in the Dow Jones index, which will of course bring down the world markets. The dollar will obviously rise, and the Bitcoin, which is generally now quite correlated with the Dow Jones, will also be falling. So that would coincide nicely with the blow off top that we're expecting with Bitcoin. But certainly very interesting developments here. So please keep your eye on the Dow Jones, as it may determine the rest of the bull market run for Bitcoin. Coming back to the Bitcoin chart now on the weekly time frame, we can see quite clearly where we are in the overall bigger picture and the bigger scheme of things. So we obviously topped out here at the $64,000 mark. We made an attempt to get back to those levels, but were rejected here. We made another attempt at this point at the $52,000 mark and got rejected there. That gives us the trend line that we've got here. We made a very strong attempt to get back to these levels, but were obviously rejected at this point here. But since then, we've now come back to these levels here on this candle at around about the $48,000 mark. And the question is, where do we go from here? Will it be that we come back and retest this trend line one more time, which is currently at around about the $50,000 mark? Or are we going to start making our way to the downside? That is the real question that's facing Bitcoin in the next few weeks and months now. My view is based on the 4-year cycle that we're coming to the end of the bull market. So it's just a matter of time before anywhere along this line we break through and start going back up and testing the other levels here at the $58,000, $59,000 mark and the $64,000 mark before we go off to the blow off top in the next few months. Before we have a look at the shorter term analysis of this candle here and this time frame of the 1 hour and the 4 hours, let's have a look at the pivots first on the daily time frame, exactly where we are on the pivot chart. As we've been seeing in the last few videos, we noticed the price come up to the $51,000, $52,000 mark here, where we got this correction down to this level here. So when we came up to this line here in the last few videos, I've mentioned that we would more than likely come back to retest this pivot line here around about the $43,000, $44,000 mark. Now that we've done that, where do we go from here? For those with a discerning eye can see that we're actually forming a W pattern here. So we've made the first half of the W up to this point. And could it be that we double bottom out here before we go back up to the top again? It looks to me with a high degree of probability that we're going to come back and retest this pivot line at around about the $45,000 mark before we go back up and retest not only the $52,000 mark, but this line here at 58 to 59,000, which I've mentioned in the last few videos many times. A quick look at our hash ribbons, and we've been mentioning in the last many videos now that when we got this buy signal here, that will mark the signal that we will never come back below this point, and that's based on 11 years of history with the hash ribbons. Apart from the COVID-19 situation, which was a one-off event, the buy signal on the weekly hash ribbons chart normally signals that we will not come back to that price in the future. And we've seen that play out many times. Like here, here, here. And this was the COVID-19 situation here, which was the first time it failed. But over the last 11 years, whenever we get the buy signal, the price never comes back to those levels ever again. And this buy signal was at this point here with this candle. So if we zoomed in on this candle, this closed at around about the 43,800 mark. I've always called it the $44,000 mark, but it's near enough. So as we can see, and I've mentioned this many times, that we can always wick down below this level, like here, and there, but the record is that we won't close below this level now ever again. So until it breaks, we have to hold that to be true. And so far, it's proving to be perfectly correct. So what this does is to provide us with a bit of a safety net. And I know many YouTubers are calling for prices back into the 30,000s and even 20,000s. And they may well be right. However, the hash ribbons with its 11-year record would respectfully disagree with them. If we have a look at the RSI, and I've shown you this for the last many weeks now, that we were creating this divergence from this point here, where we were getting the higher highs, while on the RSI, we were getting the lower lows. And that's now culminated in the fall here and here. The question now is, how far do we have of this divergence to play out? And we'll be looking at that in the shorter term time frame. There is a divergence on the 4-hourly chart. If you notice here, in the last few days, we've got a divergence on the RSI here. Higher high, a lower high here. So it may well be that we're playing out this divergence here and may have a little bit more to go. Only time will tell, but certainly very important to point this out, that we have a current divergence that's being played out currently. And it'll be negated when the price moves above this point here, the lower low. So once it makes a higher low, that'll negate this divergence. And if we have a look at the 4-hourly EMA ribbons, they're telling us that we're now back in the uptrend at the moment. Because as you can see quite clearly, that when we fell out at the $52,000 mark, we fell below the ribbons here, made an attempt at this point and another attempt there. But now we've created this W pattern, this double bottom pattern below the ribbons. The price has gone above the ribbons here. We've come back down to retest the ribbons and gone back up again. And we're now just coming back to retest them again here. The bottom of those ribbons is around about the 47,300 mark, which coincides with this and this and this and this level here. So this is quite important. If we break the $47,000 mark here, then the chances are we're going to retest this 4-hour period moving average at this point here. And that's at around about 46,700. But certainly we're creating a higher high and a higher low. So the trend is now definitely in the upward ascendancy. A quick look at the 21 weekly exponential moving average. And as I've been showing you in the last couple of weeks, that we're coming up to that average and retesting it twice in a week now. And certainly just looking at that would suggest that we could quite easily come back to the 43.5, 44,000 mark, retest this 21 weekly exponential moving average one more time before we take a direction to the upside. So certainly it's less likely, but still on the table, that we could come back down to that level. If you want to support the channel, then please click on any of my videos, and then below the videos you'll find a box called Show More, which gives you a description box, and in that description box is the affiliate link with Etoro that I have. So I partner up with Etoro because that's the main exchange I use for all my investments. These are the reasons why I tend to use Etoro. It's a very simple exchange to use in terms of depositing money and withdrawing the money, as well as trading if that's what you want to do, as well as for long-term investing, which is what I tend to do. So if you want to support the channel, please click on the partnership link, and then what you'll do is you'll get this box here, and then you can basically put your username, email and password and just fill in the form there. If you like any of my videos and you find value in them, then please don't forget to like and subscribe to the channel. So if we have a look at the 1-hour chart, and look at the levels to look out for in the next few days, what we've had so far is that we got rejected at the 52,000, had a massive fall down here. But since then, we've created this bull flag here, from which we broke out of and had a tear up to this level here. Then we created another bull flag here. And recently we broke out of that bull flag, the upward side. Now we're actually creating another bull flag here, which we just broke out of, but it seems to be a failed rally by the looks of it here. However, let's have a closer look at this now. So this is what's happened in the last week. We've had a bull flag, broke out to the upside, had another bull flag, break up to the upside. But now let's have a look at the levels here where we could possibly go to. So I gave you these levels last week, and we seem to have been playing out to these levels with a very high degree of accuracy. So when we fell from here down to this level here, I marked out these white lines that when we come up to this line here at the 47,300 level, we're going to get rejected. So we've come to one of our lines here at 47,300. We've been flirting with these lines here at the various levels now, here, here, and all along there, as you can see. The target that I gave you last week, that with a very high degree of probability that we're going to come and get a correction at these levels, would be at the Fibonacci 61.8. We took it from up here down to this level here, and we drew these two lines here. We haven't quite come up to the 61.8, which is at 49,100, to the golden pocket level of 49,400. So this range here is what I'm expecting the price to come back to. Now, does it have to have a correction? Of course not. This is Bitcoin. It can do anything it wants. It can just barge all the way through to even breaking this very strong trend line at the $51,000 mark and on its way to the 59,000. However, as we know, Bitcoin tends to respect the 61.8 Fibonacci retracement. That's what we've got from this level down to this level. This is the level it needs to be coming back up to satisfy that loyalty to the 61.8. So when we look at this chart, it looks like that having broken out of this channel to the upside, and then from this channel to the upside here, and now we've got this third channel, the likelihood is that we're going to break out from this channel to the upside before having a correction at this level here. This is what I'm expecting in the next few days, maybe in the next 24 hours. This is what I'd be expecting to come and break this channel here and move very quickly to the 49,100 to 49,400 level. So keep that in mind. Now, should we come up to this line here, and let's say we get rejected at the 49,400 level, the upper limit of this range, then if we do a Fibonacci retracement, this gives us a clue as to where the price could come back down to should we have a correction. Please remember, this is not a guarantee that we're going to have a correction here, but because we know that Bitcoin has a very high degree of loyalty to the 61.8, when we come up to that level or come down to those levels, we tend to have a bounce. So if we did a Fibonacci retracement here, if we take it from this point here up to that 49,400 level, it would give us a price range down here where the other 61.8 would be, around about the 45,700 to 45,500 level. It's down back here. And as we know, we've already got a white line there, which tells us that this could be obviously a very good support line as well. So we've now got a confluence of factors of the Fibonacci of 61.8 as well as the support and resistance line that we've had here before. So this is what I'm expecting, a breakout from here up to the $49,000 mark range here, and then coming back here to create this double bottom pattern before we go to the upside. Zooming out further, once we do get past this level here at 49,000, then we will come across this strong trend line where we got rejected at the $52,000 mark. We will have to barge through that. It may well be that this time, so we've had 1, 2, 3, that would be the 4th attempt to break this trend line here. And if we get past this line here, then our next target is up here at 58.59, which I've given you many times before in the last few videos as well. And that's based on these resistance points here, resistance and support here, resistance here, and resistance here. So that's why this is a very strong trend line. So this range of the green bar that we've got here tells us that if we do get past the 49,000, we're going to be coming up against very, very strong resistance at the $59,000 mark here. And I am expecting a correction at that point. And of course, don't forget the $64,000 mark here. So once we get past that, we will have another resistance at the double top mark at 64,000. If you are trading in a shorter term time frame, then I would be very, very careful. And just please be aware that we are in the last few months of the Bitcoin 4-year cycle. And it has a habit of just basically putting 2 fingers up at everybody and basically just doing this and going on a real tear and totally ignoring all these resistance points along the way. So that is always on the table with Bitcoin. So that's why I would always sound a note of caution to people who are trading at these levels. Okay, so hope you found value in this technical analysis. And if you did, and if you haven't subscribed already, then please do subscribe. It would be nice if you could like the video, as that helps the logarithms of the video to get to other people who may not be able to watch it. We're now going to go into a very important section of the video, which is called the wisdom bite. And I would urge you to listen to it very, very carefully. And today's topic is all about a story called The Chicken and the Eagle. And I know the first time I heard this story, it had an incredibly profound effect on me, in the sense that I became very aware of the people who were around me, and what kind of people did I have around me made me really think in a different way to what I had been thinking. So I hope it will have as much of a profound effect on you, certainly in a very positive way. And remember, these wisdom bites that we do are there to help us improve our life in many, many ways. And certainly this story is one of the most magnificent stories because it can have an incredible impact on you. And after the video, I'm going to give you a little insight into what I think is the moral of the story and how we can use it for our betterment. This is the story of the eagle and the chickens. Once upon a time, there was a large mountainside where there was an eagle's nest rested. The eagle's nest contained 4 large eagle's eggs. One day, an earthquake rocked the mountain, causing one of the eggs to roll down that mountain to a chicken farm located in the valley below. The chickens knew that they must protect and care for the eagle's egg. So an old hen volunteered to nurture and raise the large egg. One day the egg hatched and a beautiful eagle was born. Sadly, however, the eagle was raised to be a chicken. Soon the eagle believed he was nothing more than a chicken. The eagle did what the other chickens did. It scratched in the dirt for seeds, it clucked and crackled. It never flew more than a few feet because that is what the other chickens did. The eagle loved his home and family, but his spirit cried out for more. While playing a game on the farm one day, he looked to the skies above and noticed an eagle soaring gracefully and majestically in the skies. He asked the chickens, "What is that beautiful bird?" The chickens replied, "That is an eagle. He's an outstanding bird, but you cannot fly like him because you are just a chicken." So the eagle never gave it a second thought, believing that to be true. He lived the life of and died as a chicken, depriving himself of his heritage because of a lack of vision. What a waste. He was born to win, but conditioned to lose. And the same thing is true for most people. The unfortunate part of life is, as Oliver Wendell Holmes said, we don't achieve excellence because of our own lack of vision. So please don't let negative people drag you down. Remember that a person's character is not only judged by the company they keep, but also by the company they avoid. Okay, so I hope you enjoyed that. Certainly, I've started to look at people around me in terms of chickens and eagles now, and that's a very sad state of affairs. However, there is a serious side to it. The first point I take as part of the moral of the story is that you will become whatever you believe you are. So if your dream is to become an eagle and to fly high majestically and gracefully and achieve the things and realize your potential, then you need to follow your dreams, not the words of the chickens around you who are forever going to be pulling you back and telling you why you can't do the things that you want to do. You see, the mentality difference is this. Chickens are forever making excuses for not getting on with actions. They make excuses for why things will remain the same and why they can't change. They remain emotionally needy, unhappy, and forever complaining and moaning and whining. Whereas eagles, their mentality is completely different. They create solutions for problems, and then they take action to implement their ideas and put them to use for the greater good of themselves and people around them. And the second takeaway from this is that we should choose our friends very carefully. If you choose chickens to be your friends, then now you know what can easily happen to you. You'll just be clucking around just like the rest of them, instead of gracefully flying in the sky like the eagle that you were always meant to be. And that means following your dreams, following your goals, following your objectives, because the chances are the people around you are not doing that. Because as we know from many of the previous wisdom bites that we've had a look at, only 5% of the people are successful and the 95% are on a different road. And the choice is completely yours. And on that note, we've come to the end of the video. So if you found value in the technical analysis as well as the wisdom bite, then please do remember to like and subscribe if you haven't already subscribed, that is, and turn on the notification bell. If you want to leave any comments, questions or suggestions, then leave them in the comments below. Until the next time, take care, stay safe, and I'll see you in the next video. Bye for now.